welcome Dr. Felicia Pressley to the discussion. She will be our next presenter, and she is a licensed professional counselor. And she's going to be sharing some phenomenal insights with us. And I'll tell you, based on yesterday's summit session, where we talked about experiencing anxiety or dealing with the stress of studying or just breakdowns and just mental health challenges. This is a very timely discussion. So without further ado, Dr. Pressley, the floor is all yours.
Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon, everyone. Can everyone hear me pretty good?
Yes, we can hear you, but we can't see you.
I know, I have no idea. It says Zoom is unable to detect my camera. So that is interesting. And I was trying to share my PowerPoints as well.
Well, I can give you co-host rights to share, so stand by, and then that part I can help you with.
Okay.
And stand by. Okay, you should now be able to, I will stop sharing.
Okay.
And then you'll be able to share your presentation.
Okay, great. Great. All right. Good afternoon again. I have no idea why my camera's working. I use Zoom all the time, but again, life gives you challenges. You just keep going. All right, self-care and mental health. I am Dr. Felicia Pressley. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. I am the owner of Pressley Counseling and Wellness. This is my website if you'd like to reach out, and this is the office phone number. Thank you so much. I do want to say before I forget, thank you, Dr. Christy Murray, for inviting me to come and speak. I appreciate the time. I appreciate also the focus on mental health, because sometimes people forget about mental health, and it's so very important and crucial to everyday living. So just a little introduction about mental health and self-care. What is mental health? So as you can see on the screen, mental health, it includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It affects what we do, how we do it, and how we feel. Self-care, that's a little part that most people do not really invest in a whole lot. And as you see with the first picture, is good mental health, and she's pouring into herself. How often do we intentionally pour into ourselves to have an intentional positive outcome in developing our own healthy, emotional, mental boundaries? Do we do that? So I want a little feedback. So I'm going to ask some questions throughout this session as well. I heard you all chiming in on the last session when you were talking about credit, so you can chime in here as well. So yes, how often do you pour into yourselves? And anyone can unmute themselves.
Once a week.
All right, great, Kenneth. Once a week. That's awesome. Anyone else? I can't pronounce your name, young lady, and I refuse to mispronounce it.
It's Anaya.
Anaya, okay.
Yeah. I pour into myself every day. I feel like if I'm not good, then I can't make my surroundings good. So it's important.
All right. I like that. Every day. Yes, it's important to do a little something every day, right? So we have to consciously make sure that we are in a good environment. Again, sometimes that's putting up boundaries, emotional, physical, and mental, because you remember that saying, you are what you eat, right? So you are also where you are. Sometimes when you're feeling downtrodden, that may be where you're feeling, and that may be what's going on around you. If you're feeling depressed, you may be in a depressive area. So again, think about it in those terms. You are what you eat, and you are again, sometimes where your circumstances are, but that doesn't mean you have to stay there, right? So let's move on. So I know a lot of people know who this is, Miss Simone Biles, right? So the first picture is of her having to stop her sport temporarily. If you all know the story, if you don't, I'm going to give a little recap. She was in the middle of the Olympics, not currently, but the last 4 years. And she had to stop because she was having a mental blockage. She was having mental symptoms that was affecting her ability to carry out her job, which is to be an Olympic medalist and an Olympic competitor. So, parents of high achievers, students who are in honors, AP classes, and parents of scholar athletes, I have a question for you all. Do you know the level of stress that your young person is coping with right now? And young people, do your parents know the level of stress that you're going through? Anaya.
Yes, ma'am, we do.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Anaya
We
Mama,
have
for
nightly
checking in.
check-ins.
Say that again.
We have nightly check-ins, morning check-ins, because I need to know your energy is doing like it's supposed to do. Because if not, we need to take a break. And that's
All
anytime.
right. All right. Now you said something there. So that is important. A lot of parents push, and they don't realize sometimes kids do need to take a break. Whether it's taking a break from practice, because practice can be stressful and can be very demanding emotionally, mentally, and physically, even though they want to be the best and they want to be at the top of their academics, and they want to be at the top of their sport, whatever that may be. However, sometimes you have to take a break and get yourself together and take a pause. That's okay. One thing I want to say is perfection is a definition in the dictionary. It does not have a person next to it. So therefore, parents and young people, please think about perfectionism, trying to be perfect. Yes, you want to get things right, you want to get things correct, but nothing in life is going to be absolutely 100% perfect. You can get it correct, you can get it almost correct, you can do a great job, you can do a good job, you can do an excellent job, right? All those are categories, but there's no perfect category. Any questions before I move on or comments? And perfectionism does not exist. Thank you, Gabrielle. But many people strive for it. And you will stress yourself out and you will run yourself ragged emotionally and physically trying to reach this 100% that is very more, I would say, is more likely than not to happen. Thank you for that comment, Gabrielle. So I want to mention in this picture, even though she paused her competition, what if she didn't pause her competition and continued, but failed? How would that have impacted her mental health? I feel, hypothetically, that would have been more damaging to her mental health, continuing and then not being able to complete at the level that she wants or wanted. That would be more damaging than pausing, reflecting, grasping her emotional and physical well-being, and then returning to the competition. So think about those things Sometimes it's important to know when to take a pause. Sometimes we don't know when to take a pause. We push ourselves very much so. In America, we have this rat race that we continuously push, 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 and the stress of it all. Some people are good with stress, some people are not. The stress of it all can cause many, many detrimental issues. What can it cause? Here we go. Physically, it can cause headaches, fatigue, back pain, muscle aches. It can cause behaviorally. It can cause, well, not cause, but behaviorally, people will react. They will snap at people. There's the constant worrying, feelings of dread and negativity. Have you ever talked to someone that every time you speak to them, nothing goes right in their life, and they continue to say that over and over, right? So if you think about it, our mind, body, and soul is really connected. So you are what you think as well. So if you think it's not going to go right, it's not going to go right. If you think positively and push toward that, more, it won't be perfect, but it will be more positive than negative. So times, and when the old saying is, put your best foot forward. Once you put your best foot forward and keep going, positiveness will follow you. Sometimes people socially withdraw and use substances because that's the way that they cope with the stress, right? So have you ever had a friend who they were all fun and games, they were the life of the party, and then something happened in their life and they didn't want to talk to anybody. They shut out everyone. They were going through a level of stress and maybe towards a level of depression as well. Emotionally, how are symptoms of stress? Again, worry, lack of motivation, loss of interest in things that they would normally regularly do. Really feeling overburdened. People have panic attacks where they feel like they're having a heart attack. Those things come on, feelings of nervousness, and having constant thoughts. As I said before, they have these constant thoughts. It didn't go right yesterday. My day's not gonna go right tomorrow. So they have those waves of feeling that, and those thoughts continually moving. Any questions or thoughts?
The grinding your teeth one is so true because I do that especially around finals time because I had to buy a mouth guard from Amazon because like I woke up and my jaw and teeth would really hurt because I grab my teeth in my sleep when I'm stressed.
I used to have that issue too. I still wear them as well, the mouth guards, because I think once your body is programmed to do it, sort of, kind of, you still do it. Kenneth?
How can you help a friend who's dealing with a lot of stress, even though they block you out?
Okay, great question, Kenneth. So one thing you can do with that friend who is going through a lot of things, that's what you said, that they were going through a lot?
Yes.
Okay. One, you can let them know that you're there for them. Also, are they talking to anyone, right? Are they talking to anyone? Do they have any parental figures, guardians, trusted adults that they can talk to, that they're willing to talk to? I know sometimes people have people they can talk to. Are they willing to talk to them?
Not really.
So I will say that we do have a lot of hotlines that you can connect people with. There's the suicide hotline. There's also the self-help text hotline, like text someone that you need just to talk to. So we have those different hotlines that people can connect to. And sometimes they may need to talk to a therapist. As Dr. Murray said, I'm a licensed professional counselor, and we do assessments on people. We do assessments on young people, especially because what a lot of people fail to do is they fail to check in. And I think I have this on one of my slides. They fail to check in. And one thing people do is like, hey, how you doing? And if you know us, we'll give you the fake answer, right? Oh, I'm okay. But what I do, I will stop whatever I'm doing, because sometimes we ask people when we're texting or we ask people when we're on the phone. Stop, look that person directly in the eye and ask them, no, I really want to know how you're doing. Don't give me the fake answer. Because if you just ask them in passing, people give you the polite answer. And I have, although y'all can't see me, it's quotation marks. They give you the polite answer. And it's like, I'm good, I'm fine, I'm chill, whatever the comment is. They will give you that quick answer because usually people aren't listening to one another. They just say that as a salutation or a greeting, but it's important to really dig in and take the time to listen to the person and let them know that you are listening. Because if you don't, they won't tell you, they won't open up. But if you just text someone, hey, just checking in on you, that's great. But if they say, I'm good, okay, follow up the email. Are you available to talk? I mean, the text message. Are you available to talk? Because sometimes just texting doesn't work with people. Sometimes you need to talk to them. Sometimes you need to meet them at Panera, Starbucks. Hey, let's go pick up, something. Because sometimes people need that one-on-one. They don't want everybody around. They might need that one-on-one with you. So whatever the activity that person likes, it might not even be anything you like. So let's just say that. But it's not about you right now. If you want to be a good friend, it's about them. So let me give you an example. I am not a hiking person. But if a friend of mine said, hey, I need to go on a hike, my mental health is whatever, do you want to go with me? I will go, but I promise you, I don't know how long I'm going to hike with you, but I will go so I can allow them to talk out whatever it is that they need to talk out. Because if somebody invites you to something or somebody asks you to something, that's how they reach out. If somebody say, hey, what's up? What you doing tonight? And you say, oh, I'm doing X, Y, and Z, that's their way of reaching out. If you tell them, nah, I'm going to hang out over here, or nah, I got this, that, whatever else going on, they might not reach out again. And if someone has reached out to you twice in just a subtle way like that, and then the next time you try to reach out to them, they're going to shut you down because the time that they needed you, you weren't available. I hope that makes sense.
Thank you.
And sometimes people don't give you two chances. Sometimes because people are so tired of not hearing the yes that they need, sometimes you only have one opportunity to reach a person. Gabrielle, you said, if we experience these symptoms, what would be the best way to communicate these concerns with others, parents, and friends? Great question. So I would say a lot of families don't have family meetings. However, I will say it is important to have family meetings. And those are times when you can share those things. Also, parents, I'm gonna put this on parents. Parents, you need to be available to your young people. I know we work. I know we got you may have a crazy boss. You may have a crazy spouse. I don't know what you got. However, there are times when everyone needs their one-on-one time with you. It might be a stretch. It might be hard to do. However, you need to carve out that time because your young people know you're not listening. I did a TikTok maybe, I don't know, several months back. They said, parents, the best time to communicate, well, not the best time, but one opportune time to communicate with your young person is either when you're driving them back and forth to practices, driving them back and forth to lessons, or whatever, because sometimes young people don't want to look directly at you when they're talking. So if you're driving and they're focused on something else, but you're opening up the communication, but it also has to be a safe place for them to speak. They have to know that you're not going to overly judge them, overly criticize them, but actually listen and actually take into consideration their feelings. Because we can say, but I don't want you to do X, Y, and Z. Okay. However, just think back 15, 20 years when you were 16, 17, 18. Did you do something your parents didn't want you to do? I'm just saying. So, not that it's right, not that it's wrong. Sometimes people, and young people are included, have to think about charting their own paths. It might not be the way you do it. It might not be the way you want them to do it. However, in order to learn, sometimes we do have to make mistakes. That's where I go back to perfectionism. Nothing is perfect, but no one is perfect. But if you can outline your plan and talk through your plan, talk it over with someone that you trust. But again, you have to be available for them to listen. You have to be from a non-judgmental point of view. And sometimes just listen. They don't always want your advice on things. If they ask for it, then great. If they don't, you just say, Mom, I just want you to listen. Dad, I just want you to hear me out. I'm trying to figure it out myself. Don't jump to the gun and give them the answer or the solution. Because if you think about it, if you do it now, how often are you going to have to do that in life for them come in and save the day? That's not developing them as a young person. Developing as a young person is helping them learn, develop, and grow their own identity and learn to make their own decisions. Was that helpful? All right, back on track. So, mental health in youth. One thing I would like to say is recognize the signs when someone is struggling, not just in youth, but just in general. If people are expressing thoughts of being overly tired, that they're exhausted all the time, those are some warning signs. Sudden changes in their mood or behavior, isolating from friends and family, mood swings, neglecting responsibilities. So whether it's they're not doing their homework, they're not turning in assignments, they're not getting up to catch the bus, they stop going to practice, they quit teams, and it's not just a personality issue with a shift in coach, but a lot of things can impact when a kiddo or someone just shift their responsibilities. It could be increased use or develop dependency on substances, and disturbed sleep patterns. So young people, how many hours of sleep do y'all normally get where you can function ratherly well at school? How many hours of sleep do you think you need or do you normally need? Kenneth?
At
10.
least 7 hours.
Kenneth needs 7. Jacayla?
I think it's men need 8, but women actually need, I think, 9 or 12.
Okay. Madison?
8 to 9.
Okay. So just think about that. I know that, sometimes you're working late on assignments and things like that. It's hard to function sometimes when you don't have the proper rest, you haven't relaxed, you haven't done all these things. So these are some warning signs to think about when especially the sleep patterns. That is really crucial because you need to rest, relax your brain before the next day. Because if you haven't had the proper rest, you can't input the new knowledge because you haven't really settled the old knowledge from the previous day because you didn't get the proper rest. All right. And what should you do next if you see those warning signs? What you should do next is initiate the conversation. Open communication is best. And whatever a person says, believe them. Believe them, believe them, believe them. Because again, it's so many times people say, well, I tried to tell someone and no one was listening. I tried to tell someone and no one was listening. Don't wait. Talk to a trusted adult, your coach, your teacher, or a mental health licensed therapist. Next on that list, get that person an evaluation, or try to get the person in to get an evaluation at a hospital, at a mental health clinic, with a therapist, the school counselors. The school counselor, if they're not equipped or they don't have the time, they can refer out to a community mental health facility. Substance use testing. Right now, there is a rise of substance use in young people. They're stressed. So I understand why they're using. I completely understand why people are using. So if that's the case, you may have to start treatment, whether that is counseling treatment for learning how to cope with things, learning how to talk about decision-making skills, developing decision-making skills, developing coping skills, or substance treatment. And they do have substance treatment for young people and adults. Any questions or comments on that? Okay. So what does that look like? Substance use and mental health. So on one side of the screen, you will see the warning signs, which is changes in mood, changes in peer group, which means, okay, you once knew all their friends, now you don't know any friends, right? Or if they're hanging out with a different group, being very secretive about that as well. Decline in performance in school, work, and or activities, like extracurricular activities, cancellation of extracurricular activities and clubs, cancellation of sports, those type of things, because that takes up time that they could have for using or trying to find ways to use, right? Inability to be present when they have a conversation or in a conversation, changes in weight or eating habits, loss of interest again in overall health and hygiene, just a different child altogether, or a different young person altogether that you can really pinpoint and realize. Loss of memory, missing things, and not having enough funds to do the things that they need to do as well. So phases of treatment, if that is warranted. So some symptoms of drug abuse is poor sleeping habits again, changes in weight, diluted pupils, and slurred speech. So there are different levels of treatment. So there's outpatient treatment where you don't have to stay at the facility. Then there's detox where you do have to stay at the facility for a short amount of time. And then there's residential treatment where you stay there for at least 28 to 60 days to learn how to cope, readjust to life without the substances. So one thing I wanted to bring to your awareness as well is August is National Wellness Month. So with that, celebrating the whole entire month of August and prioritizing self-care, reducing stress, and creating healthier habits. So what plan will you make for this month? And this is to the group.
I think something that I'll definitely try to do is see my friends, like just before we go out to college, because I know some of them are going out of state and most of us are staying in state, but we should all just see each other and make sure that we're all good before we take on this new chapter.
Awesome. Awesome, Jessica. So yes, taking time out to spend time with friends and investing in that time and encouraging one another. Awesome. Vera?
So for me, I realized I just want to get like, for my faith, I just want to get closer to God. So I think I'm going to start just like taking time to like read the Bible and just pray more and stuff. And then I also want to do something that makes me more happy. Like recently I decorated my room just because it made me happy of how it looked like. So just little stuff like that.
Absolutely. Awesome. And I see in the comments, let's see what you all said. Exercise more, new hobbies, and participate in them. Set aside time for self-care, and learn to say no. That is very important. Make sure to schedule time for yourself to relax. Absolutely. You have to be intentional about it. That's one thing that's really important. You have to be intentional about self-care. So, do you practice? I heard some of you say you do practice self-care. And I heard some of you say you do something monthly, do something weekly, do something daily. And so my question is it intentional? What you're doing? Is it intentional? Is it on the calendar? I saw some people say, I need to schedule this, I need to schedule that. Is it on the calendar? Do you set boundaries around this? And when I say that, in the comments, I saw someone say they need to learn to say no to some things. So that's a boundary. Sometimes you have to set a boundary. Sometimes you are overly committed to something, or you need to take time to relax. It's okay to say no. It is okay to say no. No is a statement, and people will, because I've just normally seen people say, are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. The answer is no. Well, do you want to do such and such? No, I don't. I'm good. Thank you. Because again, if you neglect doing it for yourself, nobody is going to make it a priority for you. You have to make it a priority for yourself of taking care of yourself. And also, what are your coping skills? What are your coping skills? Sometimes we haven't learned those coping skills. We haven't developed those coping skills. And that, I'm going to back up for a second. And so that sometimes leads to substance use. That leads to marijuana use, because we have not developed the skills to handle stress. We have not developed the skills to handle anxiety. And so what is easier to do is indulge in a substance. It is easier to do that, to block it out, to escape from the feeling, to escape from the situation. It is easier to do that. However, is that sustainable to do for the rest of your life? Is it better to then learn to develop a coping mechanism that you can use at any time, any day, and you don't have to wait, right? So some coping skills or coping strategies, one particular one is you can use at any time, is mindfulness. And that's part of self-care as well. So mindfulness can be many different things. However, I will give you a small snippet of one thing you can do. You can close your eyes to yourself, and you can pause, and you can think about your favorite things. right? You can think about either your favorite food, you can think about the favorite place you like to go, the favorite place you like to vacation, the favorite time of day. For some people, it's the morning, some people, it's the evening. Favorite season, right? Some people like the summer, some people like the winter, some people like the fall, some people like the spring. However, that whatever that thing is, you can visualize that thing to calm yourself down, right? That's one thing you can do. Second thing you can do is also close your eyes and to yourself, take a few deep breaths to calm your mind, to calm your feelings on the inside. And you don't have to do loud deep breaths, right? In many different videos, you'll see people say, you don't have to do deep breaths like that. You can take it in slowly and release it slowly. And no one has to know what you're doing. And you don't have to make a sound when you do it. So therefore, you're quieting yourself, you're centering yourself, and you can bring yourself less nervous, less anxiety to yourself if you do some mindfulness in that way. And that's self-care as well. If you're getting ready to take a test, you can center yourself that way. One thing that I like to visualize, my favorite place is the beach. So I can close my eyes. I can imagine the sand under my toes. I can imagine the sun on my beautiful brown skin. I can imagine the seawater, and it has a distinct smell if you've ever gone to the ocean. And so I can imagine the seagulls singing in the background, right? And flying above the water. So those are the types of things I do if I get anxious, if I'm afraid, if I am tired and I need to relax. I put myself at the beach and I can hear the light breeze and I can feel the warmness of the sun and I can crinkle my toes into the sand. And so when you do things like that, the beach might not be for you. Yours may be the rainforest, where you would listen to the rain hit the leaves, right? And listen to the sounds of crickets in the background. So again, it just depends on what works for you. So that's a coping mechanism that I have, that I use. And again, no one has to know. I put myself at the beach. I'm at the beach. I'm cool. I'm chill. I got me a little lemonade. I have taken in the sun rays, right? So think about those things, and think about the things that puts you in a pleasant state of mind. And that's what mindfulness is. Any questions? Can anyone put themselves or think of a place that brings them joy? Okay, Kenneth, you like the beach too? All right. Oh, a big pond and a beautiful fountain at the college? Yes, that's nice. Okay, the beach, going to the library. Awesome. I just read a book in 2 days the other day. Beach, calming. Listening to soft music, that works too. Oh, the forest. The forest is nice too.
And Anaya has her hand up.
Yes, Anaya.
For me, it's my Boys and Girls Club because that's where I find my family to be in.
Okay, the Boys and Girls Club. Awesome. I just donated some things to my hometown Boys and Girls Club for their end of the school year party. Yes. I love the Boys and Girls Club. The park, yes, the park is nice. Absolutely. Oh yeah, I'm a cloud watcher too. It's nice to watch the clouds when they form and unform. That's a beautiful sight. All right. So the dream team, I am Dr. Felicia Pressley. My intern right now is Cherie Lovato, and my administrative assistant currently is Madison. So any questions before we end today? Are treatments for mental health free? I will say there are some facilities that offer pro bono, which means free, offer pro bono services. Not all mental health centers and counseling centers have pro bono counseling. I did have another slide, but that's okay. But if you reach out to certain places, there's also a sliding scale fee, but there are also different, what do you say, different options. Most therapists do take health insurance, and they can assist you that way. And so that's one way to get mental health services. And in summary, I will make it quick. In summary, please make sure that you pay attention to your own self-care. Please pay attention to others, because grief really affects a lot of people, and it affects people differently, right? And so make sure you know if they've had a recent loss. Make sure you check in with them during the anniversary of the death of the person, on that person's birthday, on their birthday, because people miss people the most during the holidays and birthdays and things like that. There's a lot of grief groups that you can join. There's a lot of support groups also that you can join, and support groups are free as well. Those are free resources. Anybody have any questions, comments, you can reach out at counselorsforyou at gmail.com or feliciapressley.com. Thank you and have a great afternoon.
And Dr. Pressley, I do have one last question that popped up in the chat, I think at least twice. So okay. I missed to have you answer this last question.
Awesome.
What advice would you give someone who's feeling stressed but doesn't feel very comfortable opening up?
Right. So I would say, one, there are different things you could do. One, the mindfulness that I said. And two, if you don't feel comfortable opening up to an adult, you can, like I said, reach out to some of the text hotlines. You don't have to talk to someone, but you can text someone. You can also talk to a teacher. You can reach out to a mentor if you have a mentor. If you've had a camp counselor in the past, I'm sure they are more than happy to speak with you. So also talk to a therapist, right? That we are trained to talk to people that are in crisis. That's our training. We are trained to help people work through emotional issues. That's what we're trained for. That's what we go to school for. And we also have to do extra training yearly to keep up our certifications. And so we go through different and multiple trainings to make sure that we address the needs of people that come into our office. And I see a lot of young people in my office, myself and my intern. And a lot of it is kiddos not being able to talk to their parents. It's confusing sometimes to parents, but I always tell them, you aren't available, or you're judgmental, or you don't actually listen. You say you're listening, but you're not. You're focused on the phone. You're focused on the TV. You're focused on dinner. You're focused on everything else, or you're focused on what you have going on. And so if you do that, people know when you're tuned into them. So I understand if you're not comfortable opening up to someone, because either they may be overly judgmental about your life, they may be, what was I getting ready to say? Overly judgmental and just not available. But someone is. That's what I would say. Someone is available.
Okay, well, let's give a big round of applause to Dr. Pressley for certainly enriching us today with some very, very important and valuable information on self-care and mental health.